Hey there, Facebook family. Hey, 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 hey. How are you? This is Nicole S. Mason, Triumphant Tuesday with Nicole S. Mason. Yes. I'm so excited to be with you this week. I missed you last week. I was not feeling all that great and still have a little bit of congestion, but I am feeling much, much better. So thank you all so much for your prayers and for checking in on me. I appreciate that. Welcome. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Certainly want to encourage you to invite folk to join us tonight for Triumphant Tuesday with Nicole S. Mason. And hey, sister. So we are excited tonight to be able to share with you. Hey, Sister Gigi. Hey, hey, hey. Now, I said I wasn't going to start calling folks names because I started going crazy. But hey, sister. Thanks so much for popping on with me tonight. And all of you who are joining. Yes, yes, yes. Good evening, good evening. Certainly want to encourage you to invite somebody to join us tonight for Triumphant Tuesday. Oh, I love you too, Sister Wendy. Thank you. You all know I love, 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 love mushy stuff, right? So thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I wanted to chat tonight from the thought, succeed in spite of the odds stacked against you. Yes, yes, yes. That seems to be the story of my life from birth, right? And I want to encourage you because it's very important that you understand how to connect the dots in your life. And what do I mean by that? And I always use myself as an example. Really talking to your family members and finding out about your mom's pregnancy with you and all of those things. And so my mom, when she had me, she had what they called at that time a dry birth. Hey, a dry birth, meaning that her water broke 24 hours or something like that before I came into the world. But it was a struggle with me getting here. And for goodness sake, don't let my grandmother talk about, hey, Linwood, hey there, my childhood buddy. Let me get focused. Y'all know I start calling people's names and I just go off, right? Glad to have you on. Good. So my grandmother, let her tell it. My mother and my father, they had been married for about 2.5, 3 years before they had me. And she always told a story about how amen. That commercial is everywhere. I'm so grateful and thankful to God for being able to share that. Yeah. And so she tells a story that they didn't have any money to have me. And so she had to pay for my mom to even get checked in, right? So I'm sharing this so that you can understand what I mean by connecting the dots in your life, right? So there was a struggle for me to get here. And my mom had a really hard time having me. And so I understand that I came here with fight in me. It's just that simple. I came here with fight in me. And so even at the age of 6, I went through a glass. Yeah, went through a glass. And the doctor told my mom I have a huge cut on my stomach. If it had been a half inch closer into my navel, I could have bled to death, right? Because of course, babies are connected to their moms through their umbilical cord, navel to enter the navel. I didn't know that you could bleed to death from your navel, right? Many people probably don't, but you can. At least at that time. They probably have some saving measures now, but at least at that time, I was 6 years old. So that's the early 70s. And so for me, I understand that there's always been a fight as it relates to my life, a fight to get here, a fight to end my life on several different occasions, and really understanding that because of all of those things that shaped me. Yeah. And so I understand that there is an energy. Yeah. There is an energy inside of me that it's always been the advocate for others. I wanted to be a lawyer from age 9. I love Perry Mason. I've said this to you all because I always felt like I was the voice for people who either wouldn't or couldn't speak up for themselves. So that got me into a lot of fights, right? Because I was always speaking up for people. I was always telling folk what was right and what wasn't right. Well, that's not right. You shouldn't treat her like that. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't do that. So I've always been that energy. Right? And so when it comes to succeeding for me, that just is a no-brainer. I am going to succeed at whatever I put my mind to. It's just how it is, right? And so I wanted to just encourage you. Yeah, I wanted to encourage you tonight that you have to make up in your mind, first of all, it starts in your mind to succeed in spite of the odds stacked against you. Now, we can go as far out as our culture, as our race, as from our gender, all the way down to your family, to your individuality. However you want to start, wherever you want to go with it, there are odds stacked against us. And so the first thing is, it has to start in your mind to succeed. And let me just say this, that success is relative. And what I mean by that is, what looks like success to you may not be success to me, and vice versa. So you have to create success on your own terms. What is success for you? And guess what? Success to you may change over the course of your life, depending upon what stage of life you're in. For some people, they may be at a stage where they just want to finish their education. That's success for them. For others, it's getting a new job or getting a promotion. It depends on what stage of life you're in as well. So success is relative. And this is why it is important for you to understand, number one, what your purpose is, right? Purpose is why you were created, why you were sent to the earth, and what that looks like for you. And only you can come up with that, right? Really doing a deep dive into what is taking place in your life. And this is what I mean by connecting the dots in your life. And I'm able to connect the dots of my advocacy spirit and my fighter spirit all the way to my mother's pregnancy with me. Because I understand that we are spirits wrapped up in this flesh. And it's really important for you to understand that, right? So you've got to understand what your purpose is. Hey, Phil, Philander Thompson. You've got to understand what your purpose is. And it takes some time for you to uncover that. And there are, of course, many books that help us with that. I do a wonderful mastermind on success, and that's a part of it. Hello. That I do a mastermind on success, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Really helping people to tap into their purpose and to write their purpose statements out, and then to begin to connect their activities to what that purpose is. Hey, sister! To begin to connect that purpose to them and their activities. So that's the first thing. When you're talking about succeeding in spite of the odds stacked against you, and you have to understand that odds are going to be stacked against you on various levels. Thank you, sister. Love you. Praying for you and your mom. Please give her a big hug for me. So they're going to be odds stacked against us. Whether you're a woman, whether you're African American, whether you're a black man, whether you're Latina, Latino, wherever you find yourself, and whoever you might be, there are odds stacked against you. And so you have to know that going in. And this is why your purpose is so important, because there are going to be times when you feel like throwing in the towel, but it is your purpose that keeps you going. It is your purpose that keeps you maintaining your momentum, your why. for what you do has to outweigh all of the odds that have been stacked against you. And there are many, depending upon where you are and what you're doing, right? There are many odds that are stacked against you. But I'm here to tell you tonight on Triumphant Tuesday that you have everything on the inside of you to overcome every odd and to succeed, right? I always tell folks, watch my smoke. Yeah, watch my smoke. Because I'm going to succeed whether you want me to or not. I'm going to succeed right in your face. Absolutely. Yes, I am. Okay, that's a good question, Reverend Shanta. Does your purpose shift? I personally believe that there is a growth to your purpose. For example, I know that I am called to advocate and to empower and to, help women to birth that boldness and bodaciousness out of them, right? And what happens, in my estimation, is that the purpose doesn't change. The essence of it doesn't change. However, how you manifest it may change. What you do with it may change. So, I do this work in a variety of different ways. I preach it, I teach it, I write it, I coach it, right? So it's all these different forms, but the essence of my purpose is still the same. It manifests itself in different ways. So wherever I am, whatever I am doing, it's going to always be exactly what I'm doing tonight, right? Encouraging, empowering, and really provoking people to action. I am a provoker at my core. Yeah. I was always provoking folk as a kid in various different ways with this right here. All right. She talked too much. All of my report cards. Nicole is an excellent student, but she talks too much. Right. Always had something to say. So I've always been very opinionated. Yes. Have an opinion and not afraid and not shy to share it. All of those things. And so all of that is, yes, I am. And so all of those things manifest itself in my purpose. It just shows up in different kinds of ways. And let me also say, too, as it relates to purpose, that your purpose will put you in some places that will not be comfortable for you and the people that you're there with. You make them uncomfortable because of what you bring to the table, and you are uncomfortable because you have to do it at the table. It's just like that, right? So on certain days when I have to sit at the table with all people that do not look like me, yes, yes. There are times when all of us are irritated, yeah. Because the one thing that I'm not going to do is to change who I am. That's the one thing. I'm not going to change who I am to make other people feel comfortable in my space. Absolutely not. I am not going to do that. I am not going to dumb myself down to make others feel important and smart in my space. Absolutely not. The devil is a liar. I wish I would.com dumb myself down to make you or anybody else feel impotent, as my grandmother would say. Absolutely not. So purpose is very important. That was an excellent question. The other thing about purpose, as I stated, purpose keeps you going. Purpose keeps your momentum up. Yes. And purpose also allows you the opportunity to really understand what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. Yes. Because every good opportunity is not a God opportunity. And this is where you have to begin to draw the line on some things and some people. Yes. Where you have to begin to say, I know I can do that, but that is not what I am purposed to do. It is not where I would spend my highest good and exert my highest energy. So it's very important it's very important for you to understand your purpose. Because it's your purpose that helps you to succeed in spite of the odds stacked against you. Yes? So that's very important. Hey, Sister Marquisa, I owe you an email. I have not forgotten. She and I are going to be doing several collaborations on some writing pieces on leadership. So I'm excited about it. Yes. So I'll follow up with you. So that's the first thing. Succeed against the odds that have been stacked against you by number one, knowing your purpose. And then number two, you have to have a persevering spirit within you. And guess what? We all have it. Yes. Because we all have the Spirit of God on the inside of us. The Bible is clear that, thank you, the Bible is clear that we did not become living beings until the Lord breathed his very essence into us, right? In Genesis. And so what that means to me, anyways, is that if God's spirit and essence is inside of me, I may bend, but I will never break, right? And so it is with you. And you have to understand that. This is why it's so important to understand who you are and whose you are, and then what your purpose is, right? Who am I? Why am I here? And what am I here to do, right? Those are the three most important questions that every person needs to ask themselves going through life, because you want your life to be significant. Yes. You don't just want to live. You want to have an existence that is significant, that your life mattered to others when you are gone off the scene, that your impact has been so great and so paramount in their lives that they feel your absence. They feel your void. The void in their lives when you are no longer present. And so this is what purpose will help you to do, right? So you have to have a persevering spirit. Listen, you've got to get to the place where you understand that if the enemy is going to take me out, he's going to have to come with something that's real, real good. Yeah. Because see, for me personally, after I buried my mother and my grandmother in the same month, November of 2005, let me tell you something. It's not too much that can shake this sister right here. It's just how it is, right? And so persevering, we all have persevered through something. And this is why in the Old Testament, the Bible told, God told the children of Israel, listen, build altars when you have had an encounter with me. And he wanted them to do that because the mind is fleeting. We forget all the things that God has done for us. But when you start to journal and you start to recount all that God has done, it will light a fire on the inside of you. And it's like, really? Do you think that's going to break me? You think that's going to break me? And not only do you have that kind of spirit that should rise up in you, then you also have that warrior spirit that nothing or nobody can come. You can't mess with my kids. You can't mess with my man. And you sure can't mess with me, right? It's just that simple. And don't mess with folk that are attached to me. Absolutely not, right? And so you have to persevere. If you want to succeed against the odds that have been stacked against you, you have to have purpose. You have to persevere. And then you have to unleash the power in you. Yes. And the power comes from relationship with God. God gives us power. And so we have to connect with our power source, and our power source is God. And it's just like anything else. It has to connect to its source to reach its maximum potential. You know, fish have to stay in water. Okay, you take them out the water, they're not going to live very long because the water is their source for survival. Same thing with plants. Plants need soil to survive. Take the plant out of the soil, it's not going to live too long. So it is with you and I. When we are disconnected from God, we live just a pittance of life. I don't care how much money folk have. I don't care how successful they look. If they're not connected to their source of power, their behind the scenes lives don't exhibit and don't have any power. It's just how it is. We have been created by God to work for God, to be used by God. And when we are operating on our own, apart from God, we lack power. I don't care who you are. You don't have any power if you're not connected to your source, and that is God. It's plain and simple. Now, I didn't say what you call him because there are a number of names for people to call God, but the Bible is clear. It's one Lord, one faith, one baptism, right? I don't care what you call him. That's not my issue. That's not my concern, because I do believe that there are many pathways to God, and whatever pathway works for you, that's the one you take. Hey, son, oh my goodness. Whatever pathway works for you, that's the one you take, right? But you have to be connected to this great God that we serve, this great God that created us in his image and his likeness. Yes. Let me tell you something. We are the only creatures that God created that he decided that he was going to live and harbor in these beings that we call our bodies and walk with us and talk with us and tell us that we are his own. Let me tell you something, that is powerful. Because see, I understand when I sit in that room and I'm the only one sitting there that looks like me, that when I walk in, God has walked in. The Bible is clear in Psalm 8 that he made us a little lower than the angels, right? And so I understand that I have the power of God when I walk into any room. That when I walk in, the atmosphere shifts. When I walk in, I understand that the anointing upon my life shifts the atmosphere. So I don't have to say a whole lot in some of these places and some of these meetings. My very presence makes a difference. Yes? And this is what you need to understand. Sometimes your success is just you showing up and showing up great. Yeah? Because you have to show up great now. You have to show up authentically. You have to show up confidently. You have to show up with competence, please. And you have to show up courageously. Yes. So you have to show up great. And there are times when all you have to do is show up at the meeting and sit at the table. And let me say again this week, you have to sit at the table. So if that means you have to get to the meeting a few minutes early because there are about 30 or 40 people in the meeting, if you have to get there early to take your seat at the table, then that's exactly what you do. I don't sit on the periphery of any meeting. No. If I'm invited, I'm sitting at the table. Yeah. Because I understand that there are people who bled, died, and sweat so that I could have this job that I have, right? That I can be in these places that I find myself. So it is important for me when I take the seat at the table or when I mount the pulpit to open up my mouth, I am representing God and I'm representing all of those who went before me. I'm representing those who poured their very lives into me. I have an obligation to show up great. You too have an obligation to show up great. No longer should you be showing up in a spirit of mediocrity. Absolutely not. No longer should you just be doing barely enough just to get by. Absolutely not. Listen, we hail from kings and queens. Culturally, in our families, I don't care how toe up from the flow up your family may look to you. You got to look for those people who were moving and shaking in the family. And I said this to you all before. You've got to uncover the greatness in your family sometimes, because what happens to us, the enemy always wants us to focus on the negative and always wants us to focus on cousin Boo Boo and them who keep getting locked up. All right. Everybody got somebody in their family that keeps getting locked up. Yes. The enemy wants us to focus on who on drugs and who's drinking alcohol. Listen, everybody everybody has somebody in their family that's on drugs, that's drinking alcohol. Everybody has people in their family who have kids out of wedlock, who done had kids with different men, who done had kids by 50, 11 women, as my grandmother would say, 50, 11. We all got it. But the fact of the matter is, you have to, at some point in your life, you've got to uncover the greatness that exists in your family, because we all have it. And so sometimes it takes a little digging. I always tell folks, when you go to the family reunion, just sit around and listen to who's talking about what. Yeah, 50-11, right? Sit around and listen to who's talking about what. And so it's very important that you take the time to uncover the greatness in your family. Start asking questions about who did what. Because there was a time when our family members, they had to own their own businesses because they could not get jobs. They had to, right? Necessity is the mother of invention. My grandparents migrated here from South Carolina. Salute to South Carolina. My grandmother had an 8th grade education. I don't even know. My husband and I were talking just yesterday. I don't even know how far my grandfather went with education, but they had a skill. Yeah. My grandfather was a master tailor. He sold all his clothing because he had to. He was one of so many in his family. He had to sew his clothes. There was no going to no store to buy any clothes. He had to. And so he learned how to sew, and he taught my grandmother how to sew. Thus, when they migrated from South Carolina to Washington, D.C., they opened up G.W. Taylor Shop, George Washington Taylor Shop. His name was George Washington Maynard. George Washington Taylor Shop. And they ran that business up until he passed away in 1968. From 1948 to 1968, he was alive. They ran the business together. He died on the Amtrak train because they wouldn't service him because he was a black man. These things you ought to know about your family. And my grandmother carried on. And in totality, she ran that business for more than 50 years, right? They had to do it. There was no other choice. But she was adamant that she was going to send me to school. And so that's what I did. I wanted to be a lawyer. That was a no-brainer for her. That's what you're going to do, right? So you have to uncover the greatness in your family. So let's go over. How do you succeed against the odds that have been stacked against you? Number one, you have to know purpose. Number two, you have to persevere. Number three, you have to unleash the power that's in you, right? And then number four, you have to position yourself properly. Let me check my time because y'all know I start talking. Oh man, I'm almost up. My time is almost up. I usually try to end at 8:30. And so you have to position yourself. And what do I mean by that? You have to position yourself around people who are movers and shakers in their own right. You have to position yourself around people who are going someplace. Yeah. And my grandmother used to always say, birds of a feather flock together. I'm sure you've heard that. And what she meant by that was the people you hang around will determine how far you're going to soar or not, right? And so it's important for you to position yourself around people who are going places. It's important for you to position yourself in environments where you can soar, where you can grow, where you can develop. And this is why, for me personally, I'm always learning. I'm always going to some mastermind, getting a new coach, and all of that. Yeah. And that's very important for you as well. And so you've got to position yourself in places where people are going to be pouring into you. You got to position yourself around people who will hold you accountable, who will tell you when you're not acting and operate in excellence. Yes. People who will speak truth to power in your life, who are not afraid to speak to you and to tell you what you need to be focusing on and working with you and operating with you. So we all have to do that. And there are some times when you have to reposition yourself. You have to always be evaluating your life, always be evaluating the situations and the environments that you're in to see if it's time to make another move, to reposition yourself in another space so that you can grow and develop. And this is a great time as we're winding down 2017 and going into 2018. This is a great time for you to evaluate and reevaluate who you're with, right? I love Bernie Mac. Who you with and what you doing, right? So that's very important. So this is a great time to do that. And so I want to make 2 calls to action tonight. And the millennials who are on my team, they blowing up my phone. Stop preaching and talk about what you're doing. All right. Okay. They keep me in line. So number one, I'm having my next success mastermind on December the 2nd. And it's a small, intimate group. It's a small, intimate group. And it's purposeful because a mastermind is just that, where a small group of people can come together and focus on what they are there to do. I wrote an article for the John Maxwell blog on the power of masterminding, and the title of it is 2 Heads Are Better Than One. Very powerful article on the John Maxwell blog. I'm so excited about that. And so I run masterminds on many occasions. And so this is a mastermind focused on blueprint for success, and that's for your success. So I would like to invite you to consider joining. I am in the Washington, D.C. area right now. It's in person because there's something powerful about being in person to do this mastermind workshop. And so it's Saturday, December the 2nd from 9 to 4:30. And it's very powerful. I think Minister Tanisha is on. You can just type in the chat box just a few highlights from our time together last month with the Success Mastermind. So it's a very powerful setting. It's very intimate. And you can register at paypal.me/Nicole S. Mason. And you can also go to showupgreat.com. Okay. Now the cost is $197, but let me just say this to you. As we go into 2018, the cost will be going up. This mastermind session is a value of $897 just because of the content. And so I've been doing a beta testing, right? And just a testing to share it with others at this low cost so that we can get our feet wet together. And so people can talk about it and give me feedback on it. But it's been great. I know it's great content because it's God inspired. And I give certainly impartation as we're going. God gives me downloads right in the moment to be able to talk about it and to be able to share with people right in the moment what God is speaking to them, about their purpose, about their vision. So showupgreat.com. You can register Saturday, December the 2nd, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. My second call to action is I've started a Success Academy. Now, the Success Academy is for people who want information, want content, and want to engage with me once a month. Yes, it's a once a month group coaching call. And it's also me sharing different articles. We will be talking about books and all of the things that have caused me to be successful in my life. And I am very successful. Yes. If I must say so myself, I don't really talk a whole lot about all the things that I have accomplished and done, but I have been very successful in my short life, right? So 4 degrees, yes. Went to law school after being rejected 9 times. Yes, rejected 9 times. Yeah, because my why was bigger than the people's no. Yeah, I knew at age 9 I wanted to be a lawyer. So nothing or nobody was gonna stop me. I didn't care about their no's. What? Are you kidding me? Somebody's gonna let me in their law school. And when I started law school, I was 5 months pregnant with my second boy. Yes. And when I walked into the classroom, I could hear people gasping for air. Like, oh my God, is she really going to try this? Absolutely. And guess what? Some of those people who sat there gasping for air dropped out. And guess what? I finished. And guess what? I went on to pass the bar. Yes. So I've been very successful in spite of the odds stacked against me on various levels. And so I share out of that bounty and out of that expertise and out of that kind of exposure. Yeah. And so it's very important that you surround yourself with people who have been where you're trying to go, or people who have the expertise and the anointing. And I'm clear that I have all of those things. So the Success Academy, if you would like to be a part of that, that is $29 a month, right? And it's an ongoing thing, and we do coaching calls, and I'm really holding your hand as you begin to go into 2018 and really decide what it is you want to be successful at. So you get the opportunity to come on and to a group coaching call every month, and we have different things that I'll be offering as it relates to that. So if you want to be a part of that, you can also do that via my PayPal link, paypal.me/Nicole S. Mason. That's NICOLES Mason. So you have 2 offerings, and I hope you will take me up on both of them. The first one is the Success Mastermind, December the 2nd, 9 to 4:30 here in the DMV. And it's the Success Academy. That's $29 per month, and that's a group coaching call with me for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just various articles and content that I use in my own personal life to keep me on track to be successful. And as you can see from my Facebook feed and Instagram, and the millennials keep me popping. I don't do all that posting. They keep me popping. Dr. Akina Finch and her group, they are my social media experts. And so they keep me popping all on that. And of course, my graphics, Jasmine Dyson and Deshaun Gales, they keep me looking good. So they keep me popping. And so you see all of that. And those are just the things that I do share. There are a whole lot of other things going on behind the scene that I don't share. I share what I want to share, right? And so 2 offerings. And so will the class for success? Yes. I haven't decided on the next date. Thank you, Pastor Joyce. I haven't decided on the next date, but I want to offer the success class for people who are preparing to launch in 2018. And so that's December the 2nd. Okay. All right. So just stay tuned for some upcoming dates. But it's a very powerful success mastermind, if I must say so myself. All right. So, okay, y'all, I'm past my time because I usually try to do it to about 8:30. Yes. Thank you, Minister Tanisha, for sharing. She says, my life has been truly impacted by sitting under Elder Nicole's teachings. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, you all. So if you have any questions about any of the offerings, either of the offerings, you certainly can Facebook me, or you can send me an email, contact@NicoleSMason.com, contact CONTACT at NicoleSMason.com. All right. So see you next week. Thank you all for praying for me last week. I felt your prayers. I'm feeling better. Peace.